Thank you very much. Let me commence with the prayer. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Shrutismriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Tattvajnanibhyah Namaskaraha. I am most honored and privileged to be here on this occasion to be with the philosophy family at the India level and to speak about the very interesting topic Advaita Vedanta and modern physics. At the outset, I offer my grateful thanks to all the members who are present here for this lecture session, and especially to the honorable host and convener, Dr. P.K. Dasji, and to the coordinator, Dr. Kailash Chandra Maharana, as well as to the moderator, Dr. K. Om Narayan Rao. I especially thank my PhD student and colleague, Srimati Vanamala Deepak, who has arranged this, presentation. Thanks to each one of you. What I'm going to speak is very well known to each one of you. At the outset, I make it very clear that I am not a philosopher. I am a serious student of Sanskrit language literature, but however, studied philosophy during my master degree program and fascinated by the Indian philosophy, and later developed and wrote some articles and also presented papers in various national and international conferences. I am basically was a student of science, moved over to Sanskrit language and literature, then to philosophy. In fact, I have never taught philosophy at all, but I have read philosophy here and there and also interacted with renowned philosophers all over India. I was very much fascinated by Advaita Vedanta as it is almost similar to modern physics, theoretical and quantum physics, and I kept on hearing scientists speaking about Advaita Vedanta and comparing with theoretical physics, commencing with Professor E.C. George Sudarshan, who was a renowned mathematician physicist who was nominated for the Nobel Prize 4 times but could not get it, who, whenever came to India, came to Bangalore, came to our National Degree College where I was teaching, and he was always comparing the Advaita Vedanta with modern physics and theoretical physics, he being a theoretical physicist. Like that, Dr. Alex Hankey, who is an alumni of Harvard University, was my colleague at Yasvyasa deemed to be university, who was a direct disciple of Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, gave me so many insights regarding Advaita Vedanta and modern physics. These things, paved the way to know some aspects of modern physics and Advaita Vedanta. So that's what I'm going to present to you people who are well versed in philosophy, well versed in comparative philosophy, and so on. To quickly go through in the abstract, I made the abstract of this. I will quickly read out Advaita, called as non-dualism or monism or non-dualistic philosophy of Shankara, had a tremendous impact on the scholars all over the world. This I experienced in my sojourn in travels from Bali Islands in the east to California University in the west. Wherever I went, I found the effect of Shankara and the philosophy of Shankara being explained, explored, and interpreted in many ways by philosophers, scientists, scholars, and even neuroscientists of late, even neuroscientists. His concept of one and only supreme reality or Parabrahman, devoid of duality or Dvaita, the apparent existence of world Jagat, illusory nature of the world, Maya, superimposition or Adhyasa, levels of existence called Satta, path of knowledge, Jnana Marga, for attaining liberation or moksha, led to many discussions, debates, philosophical deliberations called Vakyartha, which is the very flagship of the Indian philosophy in post Shankara times. Physicists, modern physicists, theoretical physicists, and particle physicists, and even quantum physicists in the last few decades have been trying to compare Shankara's Advaita philosophy with modern postulates of physics. Here, I make an attempt to compare the Advaita philosophy of Shankara with thoughts from atomism, modern physics, and also relevance of such studies in the post-globalization era. You are all well aware when we go through the spirit of Adi Shankara's philosophy, what do we find? The three important aspects are found here. The first one is Jagat or the word, then Jiva, the individual soul, and Parabrahman. Each of them are interconnected. Parabrahman is connected to Jagat, Parabrahman is connected to Jiva, and Jiva is connected to Jagat. So I call it as a triangle of Shankara's philosophy. And with that comes the illusory nature of the world, Maya, superimposition. Uh, it is, the world is and is not, as elaborated by Swami Prabhuananda and Dr. S. Radhakrishnan. It is a superimposition. Atasmin, as Shankara defines in his Brahma Sutra Shankara Bhashya, Atasmin Tadbuddhi, Paratra Purva Drushtava Bhasaha. This is the definition of Adhyasa. And levels of existence, three levels of existence: Pratibhasika Satta, Vyavaharika Satta, and Paramarthika Satta. And how to attain this? It is only through the path of knowledge. Although there are four paths, Jnana Marga, or the path of knowledge, is emphasized, although Shankara himself was a great karma yogi. Path of action, path of devotion, Bhakti Marga, and path of meditation. In fact, you all very well know that Shankara was specialized in all the four. He practiced all the four, but finally pursued the Jnana Marga for attaining liberation or moksha. Muchyate anena iti moksha, that which is liberated. We are liberated from the shackles of birth and death and from the meshes of ignorance called avidya. So, what is this? Then, what is this Brahman? The word Brahman is neuter in gender. That's a speciality in Sanskrit. Brahma, Brahmani, Brahmani. It is neither masculine Pullinga nor feminine Strilinga, but it is neuter in gender. So, this Brahman, Bruhati iti Brahma, Tasmad Uchyate iti Brahma, that which expands, encompasses the entire universe, is called Brahman, is real. Brahman alone is real. It is the absolute reality, and it is permanent. It is a permanent existence beyond space, desha, time, kala, and causality. Therefore, in the Upanishads as well as the Shankara philosophy, we see the word desha kala atita, desha kala atita. So he is beyond space, because as human beings, we are bound by space. Now I am bound in my room of my home, which is also office. At this time, I cannot be in any other room of my home or elsewhere in my Jain university or elsewhere in the country. So I am bound by space. At this time, exactly at this time, at 6:48, I am bound by time. I cannot be present here or else. I can be present only here, cannot be present in other place of my home or elsewhere in the state, Karnataka, or elsewhere in the country or abroad. So we are bound by space and time. We are, as human beings, or all living beings, animate beings, are bound by space and time. And also we are bound by causality, karya karana bhava, which is elaborated in the Nyaya Vaisheshika philosophy. Take a handful of groundnuts or sesame seeds, that is the cause. Now let us put it into the mixie of the crusher, we get the oil, that is the effect. So cause will lead to the effect. So everything, the whole world moves around cause and effect relationship. The people change, the world change, the seasons change, but it's a continuously through the causality. So, but Brahman is beyond the cause, beyond space, beyond time. So every object of knowledge, either external or internal, is subject to modification, just as I am bound to modification When I was born, I go for 6 avasthas. You already know all those avasthas. I am not going to elaborate on that. 6 avasthas we undergo. So ultimately, we part with this life. So we are not real. But there is no modification for Brahman. He is absolute, total bliss of consciousness. So he is pure consciousness called Chit, absolute Chit, Sat Chit Ananda. Sat Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, as elaborated in the Taittiriya Upanishad. He is absolute truth, Satya. He is absolute knowledge, Jnana. And he is Ananta, eternal, everlasting, so pure consciousness. So that is the reality. So it is a real absolute self. At the individual level, it is the absolute self. At the cosmic level, it is the absolute Parabrahman. But this ego, what we have now, the ahankara, aham karoti iti ahankaraha. The other day, as a sincere student of Sanskrit, I was finding how the interesting etymology of this word, the very letter is interested. See, is the first letter of the Sanskrit alphabet consisting of 48 letters, which was brought out by Maharshi Panini through his 14 sutras. Is the first word. Then diphthong is the last word. Or to her, we have 48 letters, and these 48 letters make the entire words and literature of Sanskrit. The other day, some computer scientists were calculating as to how many words can be created out of 1,200 verbs. Each of them, can give you 1,200 forms, number of forms. So into 1,200 verbs into roots of the verbs into 2,500 forms comes to 30 lakh. The latest Oxford Dictionary 2005, consists of only 40 lakh words. But here, only 30 lakh words can be generated out of only 1,200 verbs. So the other day, the computer specialists were telling that out of Sanskrit is the biggest dictionary and it has the biggest expansive one in the world, which consists of 960 million words. Mean 9 crore 60 lakh words can be generated out of these 48 letters. All are covered from a to her. Imagine we have that ahankara, aham karoti iti ahankara. This ahankara ego gets merged in ignorance or avidya at the individual level. So then what about this world or jagat? This world, we are Brahma Lilarnavi in Shankara, in his Brahma Jnanavali Mala, the fifth chapter, 21st verse says that Brahman is the absolute existence, he is knowledge and bliss, therefore he is real. The universe is not real, Brahman and Atman are one. This is what he elaborated, and the famous verse you are all very well aware. um, श्लोकार्धेन प्रवक्ष्यामि यदुक्तं ग्रन्थकोटिभिः ब्रह्म सत्यं जगन्मिथ्या जीवो ब्रह्मैव नापरः. What could be told by 100 crore books or crores of books, I am going to tell you in half of the line of this word. Brahma Satyam, Brahman or supreme reality is the only total reality. Jagat Mithya, the Jagat or the world uh, is and is not. Mithya, it is superimposition. Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. Jiva, the individual soul, is not Aparaha, different from that of supreme reality. But Shankara has to elaborate and solve this problem of duality or the pluralities of the world. So for that he explained through this superimposition or adhyasa. According to Shankaracharya, Shankara Bhagavad Pada, world is and is not. In fact, is I should have written as capital I. World is present for us. Now the world is present for each one of us because we are made up of the 5 gross elements, Panchabhutas, the Panchatanmatras, the Panchakarmendriyas, Panchajnanendriyas, Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara, which is all the evolute of Prakriti and Purusha. So according to Sankhya philosophy. So the world is also made up of these Panchamahabhutas and Panchatanmatras. So it is real, appears to be real because it is with the state, but this world is present with the state of ignorance. And it is not. when the light of knowledge is ushered in through the Jnana Marga, that we understand that we are the spark of the divine, that we are the speck of the divine, then this ignorance vanishes from us. With that light of knowledge, we understand that the world is unreal. So here, illusion, here Shankaracharya solves the problem of the individual satta illusion with the illusion of the whole world. He says illusion is individualistic in nature, which he calls it as pratibhatika satta, pratibhasika satta. For example, people's dreams. Every day we experience four types of dream, four types of states, as elaborated in the Mandukya Upanishad, the in its several mantras, that Jagrat, the waking state, Swapnam, the dream state, then Sushupti, the deep sleep stage. Then we go beyond that, called the Turiya, or the fourth. It is not called the state because it's an experience. That is Turiya, or transcendental state. So when we are physically present and interacting with the world is dualistic in nature. Then we get into the dream. When we sleep, we get into the dream. The modern scientists, modern psychologists say that we dream every 1.5 hours. So we have a dream for the first half an hour, then there is no dream for the next 30 minutes. We experience the sushupti or deep sleep stage, and the next 30 minutes we have the dream again, which is called the REM sleep, rapid eye movement period. And every day we sleep in installments, 1.5 hours each, so we get the dreams. So in the dreams, I'm experiencing myself. I am seeing myself. I am seeing my near and the dear. I am interacting with the people whom I interacted in the waking state. So this is an illusion. It is not a reality. So pratibhasika satta is like a people's dream. Then, how to solve this? This satta, or illusory nature of the individual, get away when one experiences the transcendental knowledge, or the turiya state. Then for him the knowledge is there, no illusion. But for the whole world, for the other people of the world, the illusion remains and stays, which is universal world vision, called vyavaharika satta, which is again unreal and imaginary, not for me, one who is awakened, but for others who are yet to get that knowledge. So Shankara gives the example of the son of a barren woman, or the Gagana Kusuma, the mm, lotus in the sky, or the mirage on a road. So these are the illusions which are Vyavaharika Satta. But when, with the existence of Maya, or the illusory world, it has basis in Brahman or Paramarthika Satta. But when you understand very clearly uh, that we are the spark of the divine, that we are supreme and ultimate, all these sattas will dissolve into the unitary consciousness called absolute consciousness, or Brahman. Then what about this Maya, which Shankara elaborates? Shankara says that Maya has basis in Brahman, the ultimate supreme reality, but it is non-existent. It disappears with the light of knowledge. It is present and it is not present. So it is real at the same time unreal. That is the adhyasa. So the relation between Brahman and Maya cannot be known by common intellect or buddhi. Swami Vivekananda in his Raja Yoga translate buddhi as determinative faculty, that which distinguishes between good, bad, real, wrong, righteous and unrighteousness. Hence, this Maya cannot be known by us. It is unknowable and indefinable. We cannot define this at all. It has only to be experienced. So world of matter and thought are superimposed on Brahman, owing to this ignorance of or avidya. And there is a slight difference between avidya and ajnana. Ignorance is ajnana, which is at the individual level, but avidya is for the whole universe, as elaborated by Swami Prabhavananda. It's called nescience. So this universal ignorance is called avidya, and the individual, ignorance may be called as ajnana. With the attainment of samadhi, there are several six levels of samadhi, as elaborated by Patanjali in his Yoga Sutra, especially in the Samadhi Pada. So, six levels of consciousness are explained. Samena adhiyate iti samadhi. This is the etymology of the word samadhi. And it is said that uh, yoga samadhi. This is what Veda Vyasa says in his Vyasa Bhashya and Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Samadhi is, yoga is samadhi, derived from root of the Sanskrit verb yuj, to unite, or to unite with the supreme consciousness, individual consciousness uniting with the supreme consciousness. So this, with this attainment of samadhi, with attainment of samadhi, that is the nirvikalpa samadhi, one should move from savichara to nirvichara, from savishesha to nirvishesha, finally from savikalpa to nirvikalpa. He will get that absolute bliss or joy elaborated in the Taittiriya Upanishad. It comes in the Brahmananda Valli, in the 11th Anuvaka of the Brahmananda Valli. Finally, the Taittiriya Upanishad, Ahamannam, 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 Ahamannado, Ahamannada. The same was elaborated by Shankara in his Bhajagovinda Stotram, Nandati, Nandati, Nandatyeva. One who is very happy dances in raptures or joy. This attainment, with this attainment of samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi and transcendental consciousness, this superimposition or adhyasa completely vanishes. But having experienced that, it is said that he comes down, such a great liberated soul, who becomes a liberated soul called Jivan Mukta, as elaborated in the Viveka Chudamani by Shankaracharya in 345 to 355 verses, 325 to 345 verses. Shankaracharya explained that he will be like a general common human being. He will be like us, who are, ignorant in nature, but he will work for the welfare of the world, like our great pontiffs of the Shringeri and other Swamijis, which was brought into Shankara when he established the four mutts in four corners of India and brought in the sannyasi parampara, which is being continued even now for the last 2,245, 47 years. So these Swamijis and the people who have attained still engage in social activities, welfare activities, which Krishna calls it as Loka Sangraha, which he himself did while elaborating this to Arjuna in the main front of the battlefield while elaborating on Karma Yoga. So this is the nature of the people who have attained transcendental consciousness, who have experienced samadhi, absolute bliss and joy. But still, they will be like common human beings and work for the welfare of the mankind, or we should say humankind. So then what is this Brahman? What is this Brahman consciousness? So now from the word Brahman, I have added the word consciousness because the definition is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Subhavaha Chaitanya. Brahman is of the nature of Nitya, absolutely eternal. He was present in the past, he's present now, he'll be present in the future. That way he is Nitya. He is absolute truth, Satya. So because he has existed forever. Nitya, Shuddha, he is pure. Why? He is not affected by the three gunas. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, as elaborated in the Sankhya philosophy and elaborated in the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Tatra Sattvam Nirmalastvat Prakashaka Manabhayam. So it goes on like that. Sattva, Sattvam Sanjayate, like that the verse goes on. So he is devoid of these three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. So he is Shuddha, pure, absolute, Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha. Buddha, he is enlightened because he is not associated with this ahankara or antakarana, manas, buddhi, ahankara. Or he is not a product of these things, or he is not influenced or impacted by these three things. So he is Buddha, enlightened, totally enlightened. Mukta, absolutely liberated, totally liberated. He is away from the shackles of birth and death and the meshes of ignorance. And Chaitanya, he is absolute consciousness. Therefore, this Brahman is called Prajnana in the Prashnopanishad. Ajnanam, Vijnanam, Sanjnanam, Prajnanam. See? So, he is of the nature of Ajnana. A means Samantat, complete, total, covering everything. Ajnana. Sanjnana. Samyak Jnanam, Sanjnanam. So, he is right knowledge. Ajnanam, Sanya. Vijnanam. Vijnana has two shades of meaning. Vividha Vishayaka Jnanam means knowledge at the Vyavaharika level, it is Vividha Vishayaka Jnana related to various types of knowledge. But at the level of philosophy, it is absolute consciousness, like as elaborated in the Taittiriya Upanishad, we move from Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya to Anandamaya Kosha. So that is the Vijnana, or now we translate it as intellectualism or IQ, intelligent quotient. So he is also the nature of Vijnana. And Prajnana, absolute knowledge, total knowledge, as elaborated in the famous Panchavakya, Mahavakyas of the Upanishad, Prajnanam Brahma. So the concept, here comes the concept of Triputi Jnana, which is called as Triputi Jnana, the concept of knowledge called Jnana, knowing, Jnaya, and Knower, Jnatru. The table is already there, the computer is already there. I am talking through the computer, through this webinar. So this object is already there, and I get the knowledge of that computer, so I am knowing about it. Who is the knower? So this computer or the table has to be known. It is the jnaya, to be known, to be understood. Jnatum yogyah jnayah, and I am the knower. I am the knower means jnatru. I am knowing or understanding. So always this philosophy consists of the three things: the knowledge, jnana, knowing, jnaya, and the knower. But the same thing is present in our sciences called the experimental sciences. When we go to the lab of physics or chemistry, we get into this with these pramanas. For example, while knowing about oxygen, our teachers would have explained what oxygen is. We will make an experiment by knowing it, putting water into the test tube and heat it, and it gets evaporated. So we observe it, and through inference we come to the conclusion. All these concepts are elaborated in the Nyaya Vaisheshika philosophy of experimental sciences as elaborated now, way back in Nyaya Vaisheshika philosophy 2600 years ago, through pramana, through the pratyaksha, anumana, upamana, and shabda, and later in the Vedantic shabda, arthapatti, and anupalabdhi. So Brahman knowledge, Brahman is knowledge. Brahman is knowledge, and Brahman has to be known, and we are knowing it. All these three are combined in Brahman knowledge. So it is an experience. So it is an ineffable or an indefinable experience, inexplicable experience. Therefore, the Shankaracharya and the post-Shankara philosophers call it as anirvachaniya anubhava, in indescribable, ineffable experience. It cannot be explained. So ultimately, reality, according to Shankara, is only one. That is called as Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Idam, this whole Sarvam world is Khalu indeed, Brahma, absolute consciousness. In fact, I was just going through the book of Fritjof Capra, the renowned physicist, where he says, he elaborates upon the philosophy of Shankara in a physicist manner, which I will elaborate at the end of this session. Duality of realities, like dualistic philosophy of Rene Descartes, cogito ergo sum, amounts to duplicity at the philosophical and spiritual levels. It is Fritjof Capra's opinion. There can be only one reality in the world, and that one reality, you call it in any way, any name, in any way, but there is only one ultimate supreme reality, which is called it, which he calls it as total reality. But later, people working in consciousness call it as qualia. And with this, we understand the five great sentences of the Upanishad, the Pancha Mahavakya. The first one comes from the Aitareya Upanishad called Prajnanam Brahma. Brahma, or the supreme ultimate reality, is the consciousness is Brahman. It is ultimate knowledge, supreme knowledge. It is Prakarsha Jnanam Prajnanam, profound knowledge. The word preposition gives the meaning of profoundness, total, complete. So, absolute. Then the next is Tattvamasi, which is elaborated in the Chandogya Upanishad in a wonderful discussion between father and son, Shvetaketu. Tattvam Asi. Oh, Sa Atma Tattvamasi Shvetaketoho. Tat, that, Tvam, you, Asi, are. You are that. What's the meaning? You, the Atma, is the Parabrahman as elaborated in the Chandogya Upanishad through wonderful examples. Several examples and illustrations are there in that. Later, such examples and illustrations were further elaborated by Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa in his Kathamruta. 100,000 examples of philosophy was given. He was a great philosopher and an Advaitin, and he gave that concept of Advaita and Vedanta philosophy in day-to-day examples, and it's very fascinating to read about the Ramakrishna Kathamruta and understanding that supreme about the Atman and Brahman and Tattvamasi and so on in simple illustrations or examples. And his famous illustration is, we are all well aware, you know that. Quickly to tell, one day Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was elaborating upon the concept of Brahman. He said, you to his disciples, I am Brahman, you are Brahman, the whole world is full of Brahman. The student who learnt only in a figurative way went outside, and he was walking in the street of Calcutta, and in the opposite direction came a very big elephant, and it was it was mounted by a elephant rider or a mahut. So it was in rut, and it was having a itcher fluid was flowing down Madodaka. He was shouting, this elephant is amuk, please move away, please move away, move, please give the path to the elephant. But this man, who was a disciple of Ramakrishna, who only understood that concept of Atman in a very figurative way, thought this way, I am Brahman, and this elephant is also Brahman. What can it do? It cannot do anything to me. He did not give the way. The elephant came through its trunk. It pushed the disciple to the side of the road. The next morning, he went. This disciple, when he was a little hurt, he went and spoke to Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa laughed and asked, I agree. You are the Brahman, and the elephant is a Brahman. But in the meantime, who was giving you the direction to move away from the path? Then the disciple said, it was the elephant rider, the Mahut. Don't you think he is the Brahman? Don't you think you should have accepted the words of that Brahman or the Mahut to go away from that path? So, philosophy should not be understood just for the sake, but it has to be understood very well and experienced. So, this is what Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was telling. So, back to the five great sentences. I am Atma Brahma. I am this Atma, soul is Brahma, the self is the Brahman, which comes in Mundaka Upanishad. Then Brihadaranya Upanishad, which is the biggest among all the Upanishad, says Aham Brahma Asmi. Aham, I, Asmi, am Brahma, the supreme Brahman or the reality. The same was told by Jesus Christ, as elaborated by Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. I and my Father are one. The same was told by Moses when he said, I am, when he said, I am that I am. So all these are same. Neha nana asti kinchana. Na iha, not iha here. Nana, many. Asti are there. Kinchana, even a little or whatever it may be. So there is no plurality in this world. So this is what elaborated in the Kathopanishad, the most wonderful Upanishad among the 10 Upanishads, very fascinating Upanishad, the dialogue between the father and the son, Nachiketa and Vajashravas. So, how do we understand about the Brahman? Now we have understood the nature of the Brahman. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Bhukta Swabhavaha Chaitanyam, Prajnanam Brahma, Ayamatma Brahma, etc., etc., etc. How do we understand? According to, Vedantin, Shankara, it is Vedantins, it is absolute consciousness, total consciousness, complete consciousness. The whole world is full of consciousness and nothing but consciousness or Chaitanya. And for Ramanuja, who established the Vishishtadvaita philosophy, and Madhva, who established the Dvaita philosophy, it is, they understand through creator or Ishvara. Whereas, according to Buddhists, consciousness does not exist. But modern psychologists say it is awareness, total awareness. It means it's a means of cognition. To a materialist, like the dualities, like the dualists of Europe, it is a product of mind. To the new physicist, it is the observer. It is observer who is an integral part of observation. For example, I am the observer and I am observing the external world. But that external world is an integral part of my own observation. That's what the new physicists claim. To a quantum physicist, I will give their names later in a list out. To a quantum physicist, it is absolute consciousness, quantum consciousness, because the atoms, we go from beyond the time, from beyond the atoms to that of the fundamental particles, the muons, the pions, the tachyons, and so on, and we have gone beyond that, quarks, and from that we have reached the latest called the God particle, Higgs boson, and so on, as invented in the CERN lab in Europe 20 years ago. So this Brahman consciousness is elaborated in the Bhagavad Gita as like this, I quote, Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam, Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyah, Ascharyavat chainyam ahamya shunoti, Ascharyavat chainam anahya shunoti, Shrutva pyenam vedana chaiva kaschit. Means, what is the meaning? I quote, sometime someone visualizes it as a wonder, and similarly, indeed, someone else talks of it as a wonder. It is Brahman, and someone else hear of it as a wonder, and someone else indeed does not realize it even after hearing about it. This is the Brahman consciousness. And this consciousness was elaborated very well in the Kenopanishad. Thus, I quote, consciousness is that which the eyes cannot see, the ears cannot hear, the nose cannot smell, the skin cannot feel because they are sensorial experiences, the tongue cannot taste, and the mind cannot think of. It is that means that, because of which the eyes can see, the ears can hear, the nose can smell, the skin can feel, the tongue can taste, and the mind can think. Taittiriya Upanishad gave the same thing in a different manner. It said in the Bhruguvalli, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidvan biveti kutaschana. See, the speech along with the mind went in order to understand Brahman, to realize Brahman, but they could not do so. They returned without understanding them, because only it is absolute ananda or consciousness, joy, supreme joy, absolute joy, unalloyed bliss. That only has to be experienced and cannot be explained. So this consciousness, from Brahman, we come to the consciousness, total consciousness of the universe. As elaborated in the Mandukya Upanishad, he elaborates the three states. The first one is the waking state or the Jagrat state, as I and you are now experiencing. I am the observer, I am the speaker, you are the listeners, and it is an external world, is a duality. External world experiences, in that external world we experience ideas, impressions, and it is stored in chitta. Chitta means the mind apparatus and the mind stuff in the body. It's the physical body and the mind is active. Chitta, in fact, is a conglomeration of five components as I've observed and as I've read in the yogic text. Chitta, although translated as mind, Swami Vivekananda in his Raja Yoga translate it as the mind apparatus or mind stuff. It consists of Manas, the mind; Buddhi, the determinative faculty or intelligence; Ahankara, egoism; and Smriti, or remembrance; and Chitta, or consciousness. So, this Smriti is very important, deeply rooted and stored in our subconscious mind, as elaborated by Carl Gustav Jung and Freud. And it comes to the waking state and troubles us or gives happiness or joy. And this Smriti is important. I don't remember the Upanishad. Smritir glabdhe sarva granthinam moksha. It is said. That means when we get the Smriti or the remembrance of our previous life, the past lives, then we get liberated from all our shackles of life and death and birth and shackles of ignorance, and we get moksha. Then the second is dream or the swapna, no experience of the external world. Chitta here creates new internal world. As I already told you, we have several types of sleep, the REM sleep and the non-REM sleep. And in this, it is different from memory or smruti. Please read my article on smruti in Indic tradition, published few years ago. Very well read and appreciated. The concept of smruti and memory in Indic traditions, it's on the Google. Physical body is inactive here because when you are dreaming, our body is not active. Only when you are in the physical world it is active, but not when we are sleeping. So it's inactive. Then from the waking, we go to the dream. From the dream, we go to the deep sleep called sushupti. And the psychologists and neuroscientists at the National Institute for Mental Health and Neurosciences, Bangalore, elsewhere, the Maharshi Mahesh Yogis, scientists, all India Institute of Medical Sciences, they have all analyzed the dream patterns, the patterns when people get into consciousness in the deep sleep stage with alpha, beta, gamma, delta waves. We have done in our Yasvyasa Yoga deemed to be university also, where I was working earlier, and there also we have analyzed the patterns of the sleep, patterns of the dream and consciousness through fMRI. So there we find when a person attains, when he moves from the state of dhyana to samadhi, then there is no activity of these waves, alpha, beta, gamma, delta. It only shows, and even in sushupti, deep sleep, it shows only one single line. So this deep sleep, in the deep sleep called sushupti, the physical body and the subtle body called sukshma sharira are inactive. Only causal body, karana sharira, is active. Here experiences are full of bliss, joy, absolute, and there is serenity of mind. Consciousness, he becomes a silent witness to all our states, like what is said in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Sakshi Bhuto Kevalo Nirgunascha. It becomes a witness for all the activities. Then what is the difference between deep sleep and sushupti? Deep sleep, sushupti, or samadhi. In deep sleep, we are experiencing Brahman, we are enjoying the joy of Brahman or the supreme consciousness, joy, but we are not aware. But in yoga, in samadhi, we are aware, but there is no ahankara. This is the difference between the deep sleep and turiyaga or turiya or turiyaga or nirvikalpa samadhi. So what is the ultimate supreme goal of all the human beings? This supreme goal is to know about the knowledge and the knower and the known. We should go beyond the space, time, and causation. Space, time, and we are bound by space, we are bound by time, and we are bound by cause and effect relationship. And when we do these things, we get total existence, that is Sat. We get total knowledge, jnana, and we get total bliss, Ananta. Ananda. Sat Chit Ananda. I have come to know from my PhD colleague and student, Miss Vanamala Deepak, who is about to present her PhD thesis with my guidance. Uh, she has told that great philosophers are there in this philosophy family. They should tell me. They should tell me how this bliss can be experienced, how this bliss is a total absolute thing. So here, the illuminated seer himself becomes the absolute Brahman. The seer who is illuminated, the seer who has become knowledgeable, the seer who has experienced this becomes the absolute Brahman, and he will be like our Swami Chandrasekhara Swamigal Paramartha, what do you call it as Paramacharya of Kanchi, Chandrasekhara Swamigal, or that of the Abhinava Vidya Bharati, Abhinava Bharati Swamiji, or even earlier Nrisimha Bharati and others who had attained but who were like common man. When Maya or Avidya are overcome, Maya is the world which is and is not. It is an illusory world. Or Avidya at my individual level because I'm associated with the body and the soul, Jivatma, are overcome, individual soul becomes self-luminous. It's called Swayam Prakasha. It shines by itself. Atma Prakasha. It shines by itself. That is, and no external light is required because the light is present within itself. Then I was in as a student of science, till my degree, I was interested to know what about this consciousness and where do we locate this consciousness in the brain? Where is it? Lot of discussions have been happened in the last 50 years, especially after the EMRI, fMRI, MRI, and the electroencephalograph and have come. They are trying to locate as to where this consciousness is present in our brain, which is only from 1200 to 1300 grams present with temporal lobe, frontal lobe, parietal lobe, and occipital lobe. It is said that our consciousness lies in this prefrontal cortex. I'm sure indicating this. This is the place where consciousness can be awakened, can be experienced, and you can get the joy. That is what the world famous neurologist Vinod Deshmukhji from University of Florida has said, has elaborated and written papers on samadhi and brain, etc. I had an interaction with him when I was in Florida 20 years ago. See, this is the prefrontal cortex in Orlando. He says this is the seat of samadhi. This prefrontal cortex consists of, it is said that 16 out of 86 billion neurons, 16 billion neurons are present in this prefrontal cortex. If we concentrate our mind through dhyana, from dharana to dhyana, and concentrate between our eyebrows, through Ajna Chakra, it is possible to, awake this prefrontal cortex and get that joy or happiness. With this, I move on to the next session of comparing the body, mind, and consciousness with thoughts from new physicists. See, uh, what is the relationship between body, mind, and consciousness? Body and matter and mind are different in Western philosophy. Matter is different, mind is different. So that's what the Western philosophers elaborated upon, cogito ergo sum and so on, Rene Descartes and others. The new physicists have gone beyond and says there is difference between matter and mind. The differences between matter and mind is being debated and questioned in the last 60, 70 years, almost 100 years. Now they have come to a stage where they're telling that subnuclear particles are not just particles, but they are resonance and they are an event. For example, Fritjof Capra, the physicist, says these fundamental particles of the universe. We all started with Dalton's in the West. It started with Dalton's postulates of atomic theory in the 18th century. Before that, it was only theory from the Greek mythology, Greek philosophy, Empedocles, Anaxagoras, Anaximander, and so on spoke about the atomism, Paramanuvada. And it was very well elaborated in our Nyaya Vaisheshika philosophy also exceedingly well. And later it got elaborated, Dalton's postulation of atomic theory, Newton's laws, etc., etc. It came. Now we are at a stage where Fritjof Capra says they are the fundamental particles of the universe. They are 16 in number, called muons, pions, tachyons, leptons, gluons, etc. They are only resonance and an event. They are not actually physical matter. Another physicist, Frank Alan Wolf, says that the movement of particles, all these particles which I elaborated, electron, neutron, proton, from that we have gone up to quarks, all these are a psychic phenomena. They are nothing but a total psychic phenomena. New physicists such as Michael Talbot, Rupert Sheldrake, Fritjof Capra are telling that there is an interactionism of fundamental particles like the quarks, the muons, the pions, and the tachyons. And the quarks, the muons, pions are really present, but the tachyons are only hypothetical one elaborated by Dr. E.C. George Sudarshan, for which he was nominated Nobel Prize in Physics 4 times, but unfortunately he could not get it. And it was my honor and privilege to interact with him whenever he came to Bangalore, and also I met him in Yasvyasa Yoga University. Once he used to come and give special lectures for a week on new physics and Vedanta. So if we just trace this concept of consciousness or Brahman consciousness or total consciousness, for Sir Isaac Newton, it was a dualistic nature. It was called Newtonian physics, Newtonian mechanics and physics. It was, for him, external world and universe are totally real, like Madhva philosophy or the duality. Totally real for him. But David Bohm, another physicist, he observed through research, he said atom, called Paramanu, which is called Paramanu in Nyaya philosophy, behaved as a particles and also as a wave, and hence he coined a new word, wavical. Wave plus particle becomes wavical. So according to David Bohm, he propounded this theory called the wavical. He said this atom is both a wave as well as a particle. Hence, mind and matter became indivisible. They can never be divided, they are one and the same. Erwin Schrödinger, who came out and proposed the quantum theory, said that the knowledge and the particles and the consciousness moves in quantas, means, which selected, we can say select quantum. They move in selected ways. And he said, if you bombard, he said, the new physicist said, take a particle and configure it through computer science, and you give a direction and charge that particle saying that you should turn in clockwise direction. It has to do according to mathematics and physics, but it turned anti-clockwise. The scientists were amazed. The physicists were amazed. Then they configured it again. They developed the theorem and they configured it and bombarded the atom again. And this time they said it should turn in an anti-clockwise direction. And they bombarded, and that atom turned clockwise. So they got amazed. What is this? This atom is not behaving the way in which we want or we are liking or we are directing. They have got their own independent existence. This was elaborated by Kanada long ago. Kanan Atti iti Kanadaha, one who ate atoms, therefore he was called Kanada. Kanada came out with this Paramanuvada. Jala Surya Marichastam Yatsukram Drishyate Rajaha Tatra Shashtatamo Bagaha Paramanuhu iti Uchyate. He gave the first time, gave the uh, definition and the magnitude of the atom. He said, imagine the window. You are sleeping in your room, bedroom, and there is a window with a physical frame, with a wood frame, and there is a small hole in that. First, when the sun rises in the east, a small, a ray of light passes through that hole of the window pane, and it falls on the ground. So you see that light which has fallen on the ground. Take that, split that into six parts, and the one sixth part is called Paramanu. See, this is the same called, now the same thing is called by physicists as photons, the pocket cells of energy. See how Nyaya philosophers told 2600 years ago. But whereas for Werner Heisenberg, it is uncertainty principle. Nothing is certain. Life is uncertain. And imagine the way accidents are happening in India day in and day out, with 30 to 50 lakh deaths every year reported, unreported causalities, unreported, permanent disabilities, endless. Thanks to globalization, thanks to moving so fast with urbanization, I don't know where we end up. Every day when I read in the newspapers, I get really frustrated and dejected when I see people who are very young and dynamic dying in accidents. Uncertain. A person goes out of the house and it is uncertain whether he returns safely. George Berkeley, he was called George Bishop Berkeley. He came out with a theory called subjective idealism, which is almost equal to Shankara philosophy. So Berkeley and Shankara are compared by modern physicists and philosophers in Europe, as I've seen, and also in America, where I participated in some conferences. For example, I don't remember now. So, subjective idealism of George Berkeley is compared with the philosophy of the Advaita philosophy of Shankara. And then came the Niels Henrik David Bohr. He say the whole universe is interconnected. When you interfere with one part of the universe, the message goes immediately to the other, to the entire universe. That's how the whole universe is connected, and even they connected with the Big Bang theory, connected with the you know uh, naked singularity, black holes, and so on, as elaborated by astrophysicists. Actually, the modern biologists are telling uh, the world is so much connected that if a bunch of butterflies flap their wings in Amazon forest in the west, you can feel the experience in the east or in India. That is how it is connected. That's how the whole world is connected. That's what Shankara said. The whole world is full of consciousness, connected. Brahman, Atman, Jiva, all interconnected. So then another came, the new physicist came, Eugene Paul Wigner. He says, knowledge we obtain about the external world is nothing but the content of our consciousness, which is present in our brain, which is present elsewhere outside, as told by Albert Einstein. And hence, any study of external world, like knowing about the black holes, knowing about the naked singularity, knowing about the people of the world, people, places, things, leads one to the content of consciousness, and that is the ultimate reality. Please understand, my dear senior colleagues and scholars who are hearing this lecture, my babbling in this. Eugene Paul Wigner and others are very renowned physicists. Some of them whom I have quoted now are Nobel Prize winners. They are talking about consciousness and comparing with Shankara philosophy. Professor Roger Penrose, who is a Rouse Ball professor at Oxford and a friend of Stephen Hawking and a Nobel laureate, says consciousness becomes a part of our universe, and physical theories which does not accommodate it fail short in genuinely describing the world. So, according to Roger Penrose, I think the word is missing. I'm sorry, Roger Penrose, it should be. It's a grammatical mistake, sorry. So, according to Roger Penrose, the whole world is full of consciousness, and consciousness is a part and parcel of the entire universe. And whatever the physical theories, steady state theory like Fred Hoyle's theory, and whatever the theory, if it does not accommodate consciousness, then it can never be considered a theory, and we can never describe the world completely in its entirety. I had the honor of meeting Roger Penrose in Bangalore twice with Raja Ravanna, who was my mentor, and also Once I went to Oxford to make a presentation. There I met him again. Amazing. At that time, when I met him in 2001 and 4, he was working on the mathematical model of consciousness, which was almost similar to Advaita philosophy. So then Dr. B.V. Srikantan, our own theoretical physicist and a renowned physicist who was the director of the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Mumbai, and later of the Gandhi Center, he says, emergence of life, I quote, emergence of life or consciousness was not an automatic consequence of several cosmological activities during the Big Bang theory. And there was some oneness or interconnectedness, and this gives key to the origin of the universe and reality. These physicists always combine the consciousness with cosmology, study of the universe. Cosmology is study of the universe. How did this universe originate? It all started through Big Bang 14 billion years ago. When I was a young student, as a student of science up to my degree, I came to know it was 6 billion years. As I, for joke, I'm telling, as I became old and older, the Big Bang theory got expanded more and more, and they went on adding. Now it is 22 billion years old. The Big Bang started 22 billion years of year ago with a big explosion from which the whole world got um, originated, and it happened at the 10 to the power of minus 41 seconds, as elaborated by my friend and Fulbright scholar Dr. Purushottam Bilimoria from uh, University of Berkeley, California. And this Big Bang interconnectedness means the world is connected with consciousness, and I am connected with consciousness, the external world, the individual life, individual human beings, animate, inanimate objects of the world, and the whole cosmos and the universe are interconnected. So there is no separation, there is no duality, according to even physicists. So finally, Dr. E.C. George Sudarshan, who went on elaborating and compared our Western Eastern philosophy with Western physics and Western theories very well, said that both the concept of mind and consciousness appears to be elusive and subtle in nature. Why he's telling the word elusive? Very difficult to understand these concepts. Only they have to be experienced because they are very subtle in nature. It cannot be explained. Professor N. Mukunda, another theoretical physicist from the Institute of Science, finally said, when he was elaborating upon the 100 years of quantum consciousness, giving a lecture on 100 years of quantum mechanics, he said, all consciousness is really one. You call it as Brahman consciousness, or you call it as individual consciousness, transcendental consciousness, unitary consciousness, neuro consciousness. It's all really one. And there one finds a source for compassion and ethical feeling. Finally, having understood these things, what one should do? He should be more and more compassionate towards the needy, towards the low, towards our lowly brother, towards the poor and the needy, towards the oppressed, as elaborated by Swami Vivekananda, and for which he worked throughout his life and went to America to bring money and brought and established the chain of Ramakrishna mutts all over India and started doing charitable acts. And ethical feeling. We should be ethic. We should practice ethics. Ethics is a very big subject in the West, but look at the way it is going now in Europe and America with climate change, with so much of only 20 most industrialized nations consuming 80% of the world resources, suffering from climate change, acid rains, and so on, because of that greed, and the way we are experiencing the effect now in the last 2 years coming from the United States. So ethical feeling is always important. We should practice some ethics, moral set of morals and ideas, which was elaborated by Shankara in his Bhadagovinda Stotra, in his Viveka Chudamani, and other places. With this, I just want to mention, because I quoted muons, pions, and tachyons, let me just tell what are they according to modern physics. Muons and pions are real according to theoretical particle physics. They are fundamental particles. while tachyons, I've already told, as told by E.C. George Sudarshan, are hypothetical particles which travel faster than light, 186,000 miles per second. Muons are leptons. They are called leptons, similar to electrons but more massive in nature, and are produced from pions and kaon decays. Again, pions are mesons. I know your head is going messy. Please don't bother much about this thing. Have a much shorter lifespan than muons and are found in three flavors: positive, negative, and neutral. I think we should have that nature also, more of positive and neutral. Tachyons, however, have never been observed, and their existence is purely theoretical, as told by theoretical physicists such as Roger Penrose, E.C. George Sudarshan, Rupert Sheldrake, and others. What are these quarks then? There are six different kinds of quarks in the world with a wide range of masses. They are named as up, down, charm, strange, top, and bottom. Quarks are the only elementary particles. You know that these all come in the, it is said that a star is transformed into a red giant is transformed into a white dwarf, the white dwarf becomes a black hole becomes, you know, a quark, and later naked singularity. All these are a part of the divine dance of Shiva, as elaborated by Gary Zukav in his book, The Dance of Shiva. Uh, yeah, Quarks are the only elementary particles to experience all the known forces of nature and to have a fractional electric charge. So, the interaction between quarks and gluons is responsible for almost all the perceived mass of protons, neutrons, and is therefore we get our mass of the universe. So, this is what elaborated. With this, I think I'm coming to the end. I will sum up with body, mind, and consciousness. Fritjof Capra said once in his Tao of Physics, Volume 2, mind or ego, soul or psyche, spirit or consciousness, self interact with body through brain. So ultimately, the prefrontal cortex, as told by Deshmukh, Vinod Deshmukh ji, has the power to gain consciousness, power to get awakening. So we should do that. Paul Davis, a professor of mathematics, who teaches in University of Adelaide, Australia, and a Nobel laureate, and Penrose was a Nobel laureate, says consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe. It is connected in a deep and still mysterious way to the laws of nature. So we cannot go beyond consciousness. Consciousness is fundamental. It is the base of the universe from which the world is united, you is originated. And the laws of nature come from that consciousness. So to this, Roger Penrose adds, I quote, consciousness seems to me to be such an important phenomenon that I simply cannot believe that it is something just accidentally conjured up by a complicated computation. It is the phenomenon whereby the universe, governed by laws, general laws, Newton's laws, Newtonian mechanics, etc., that do not allow consciousness, is no universe at all. I would even say that all the mathematical descriptions of the universe that have been given so far must fail this criterion. It's only the phenomenon of consciousness that can conjure up theoretical universe into actual existence. So, renowned people, Nobel laureate like Roger Penrose, still he teaches in Oxford, and a friend of Stephen Hawking. Both of them came out with Stephen Hawking, Hawking Penrose solutions for the baby galaxies of the universe have come now. What I'm trying to drive home the point to my senior most colleagues who are well aware of all these things is that a time has come when there is no difference between matter and mind. Or if there is difference between matter, mind, and consciousness, it's only hairline, thin line. So matter is transformed into consciousness. Consciousness can be transformed into matter, and we have to experience this phenomenon, which is nothing but the Brahman consciousness, the supreme consciousness which is present within ourselves. So therefore, Swami Vivekananda, actually, before going to that, one more. Some questions were raised by Roger Penrose in his two famous books. What happens to each of our streams of consciousness after we die? Because consciousness was there before we were born. Consciousness is still there after we depart from this world. Where was it before each of us were born? Might we become or have been someone else, like Brahman, like Jivan Mukta, liberated soul? Why do we perceive at all? I say, this is an annoying question he's asking. This is an open-ended question. I leave it here. I don't answer. Why are we here? Why is there a universe at all in which we can actually be? Even Nobel laureate Roger Penrose could not answer. I'm sure the senior most philosophers, thinkers who are attending this conference in the philosophy family should be able to answer from the Eastern wisdom, from the wisdom of the East and wisdom of the Indian philosophy. So finally, uh, you know, actually, this was quoted by Roger Penrose in a seminar, in a national seminar, international global seminar in Bangalore. He quoted Vivek Chudamani of Shankaracharya, where I was present, verses 125 to 133. He said, gives various levels of consciousness, such as three states of consciousness, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, combination of subjectivity. Subjectivity is individualistic, objectivity is outside, subject object relationship ceases to exist in deep sleep stage. The same subjectivity and objectivity is ceases to exist in samadhi, but we are aware of it. He termed it as omnijective. He combined both subjective objective and turned it as objective omnijective by Michael Talbot. So this consciousness, this omnijective consciousness is beyond space, time, and causality continuum. And this was told by my colleague, a Hatha Yoga expert, Ram Prasad Tiwari from America, a Trinidadian Hindu. In fact, he said, Mandukya Upanishad and Patanjali Yoga Sutra speak of the fourth state of consciousness called Turiya. And some schools mention the fifth state called Turyaga or Turyati. Turyena Gachati iti Turyaga or Turyati. So that can be experienced, and it was experienced by Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Swami Vivekananda, Swami Rama, and Swami Muktananda, and the great Jagat Gurus of India in the four ashram, four mutts of India, elsewhere. So 100,000 Nagas were present in beyond 10,000 feet. Some of them I met as a trekker and a rock climber 20 years ago. The Nagas beyond 10,000 feet in the Himalayas, still they're experiencing, like what Jesus Christ experienced when he said, I and my Father are one. Or when Moses said, I am that I am. So that is the experience of all of us. So to quote finally, Swami Vivekananda in his Raja Yoga said, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest the divinity by controlling nature, external or internal. Do this either by work or worship, psychic control or philosophy, by one or more, that is, all four yogas are combined, and be free. This is the whole of religion. Doctrines or dogmas, rituals or books, temples or forms, are but secondary details. So, सर्वेषां कृते हार्दिक कृतज्ञतापूर्वक प्रणामाः अपि धन्यवादाः. Thanks a million for your kind and patient hearing. I had the greatest honor of sharing some of my thoughts. I am a sincere student of philosophy, sincere student of Advaita. Still, at the end of this lecture, I say, I don't know anything about Advaita. Still, many things to be learned, because it is, as told by Vidyaranya in his Panchadashi, it is Asparsha Yoga. As told by Chandogya Upanishad, Yatra Shabdam Ashabdam Bhavati, Yatra, Shabdam Asparsh, Yasta Shabdam Ashabdam Bhavati, Yatra Sparsham Asparsham Bhavati. So these are only experiences, not which are indescribable in experience, but still I enjoy the part of this. So I thank all the speakers here, especially Pramod Kumar Das ji, who gave me a great honor to, to share some of my thoughts on Advaita philosophy and new physics, and to Srimati Vanamala Deepak, who introduced me to Pramod PK Das ji, and to Kailas Chandra Mohanji, to all the people, Om Narayan, brothers and others who are a part of this, Maharana ji and others, for giving me an opportunity to share some of my thoughts. Namaskaraha, dhanyavadaha.
Okay, thanks so much, sir, for your thought-provoking talk on Advaita Vedanta and modern physics. And we were minutely listening to a talk for 1.5 hour. And the way you presented Advaita Vedanta in the light of modern physics, it is very much interesting. And it is also
Okay, Dr. Mahana has left because of network problem. We shall start our introduction. Thank you, sir, for your beautiful deliberation.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, thank you, sir. We are all grateful to you. So
Thank
now I shall invite Ranjit Ghosh, sir. Sir, please have your observation or any query. Ranjit, sir.
Thank you, Professor Das. It is really enlightening to hear Professor Sridhar's speech on Vedanta. And I am really amazed about his humility when he's saying that he has no entrance in the philosophical literature, but the way he presented Vedanta and vis-a-vis physics, modern physics, and this is really it will ponder more and more over it. So I thank you once again, sir.
Namaste. Pranam, dhanyavad, sir.
Now, regarding I have one simple question.
Yes, sir.
That when you are talking about Sankara and bringing its Advaita and bringing its relationship with modern science,
Yes,
then shall we not accept that Sankara accepts both the divisions of science in his enumeration about the Brahman? Because when he is talking about the absolutistic version of Brahman, in we find in classical physics space and time, and when he is talking about Maya, it is something like a quantum particle.
yes,
So
exactly.
so in that way, his the philosophy of Vedanta is a combination of both the classical and the modern physics.
Exactly, sir. I totally
Yeah.
agree with you.
So, and another thing, I'm really grateful to you that you are bringing the spirit of Kafra, Professor Kafra, in say that mysticism doesn't require science.
Exactly.
So science doesn't require mysticism, but
Mysticism.
man requires both.
Exactly. You are perfect.
So that is the situation for which the way you have explained consciousness in the because normally consciousness, to describe consciousness from the materialistic point of view, from the physicalistic point of view, from the empirical point of view, is different from explaining consciousness as something which is encompassing, and that is how you are bringing certain Penrose, Professor Penrose, and others.
Well,
So
those are
this is really enlightening.
Thank
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
you, Pranam, sir. I'm more honored.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you.
Professor Ranjit Ghosh, sir.
Dhanyavad.
We have with us Devendra Bhu, sir. Please have your observation, Devendra, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Namaste.
It's really nice to hear you, sir. I have a questions regarding recent Nobel Prize quantum tunneling.
Yes.
In quantum tunneling, they talk about particle barriers.
Yes.
What we found in Advaita Vedanta also, just like ignorance is a particle barrier between Jiva and Brahma. So
Exactly.
can we connect both these?
Sure, sir, sure, it can be connected initially, but I'm not aware what I have not studied. What was the contribution of the current Nobel laureate? I should get back to you sometime. But generally, the nowadays we find the physicists, especially the theoretical physicists and quantum physicists, are accepting the philosophy of Shankara, saying that these, these are nothing but physical particles, but they are absolutely consciousness and resonance and experience. So that way, the whole world is connected, and it is what this Amitabh Ghosh from University of Ontario, Canada, coined the new word 15 years ago when he wrote the book The God Is Not Dead. There he says it is quantum consciousness. Quantum consciousness pervades the entire universe. So that quantum consciousness is present from minutest particles such as the muons and the pions to that of our majestic Himalayas, or even that of the ocean, deep ocean. So it is nothing but the consciousness which is present everywhere, and it is the dance of Shiva, they say, which has to be experienced, cannot be explained at all. And it is an inward experience. Antarjnana, antar anubhava, anubhava. The Vachanakaras, starting with Basavanna, Allama Prabhu and others, called it as anubhava, mystic experience. Shishunala Sharif and others. It is a mystic experience, experienced by Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and so on, many people. It can never be explained, as elaborated in Taittiriyopanishad. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha anandam brahmano vidvanna biveti kutaschana. So we have to get into that experience, that's all. Even physicists, in fact, uh, Albert Einstein, Albert Einstein finally said, although he was speaking about the theory of relativity, with special theory of relativity elsewhere, he said that I believe in consciousness from within than that which exists outside. I believe in the consciousness and the God which is present within than outside. That's what he said. Science, he said religion begins where science ends. That's what he said. Even Einstein believed in this concept of consciousness. His relativity speaks of nothing but consciousness. Theory of relativity, special theory and general theory of relativity. It is relativistic in nature, but it can be experienced.
Okay,
That's
sir.
what
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have with us Mrs. Barnamala Deepak, who is the direct student and scholar of Professor Sridharji. Madam, please appear on the screen and speak something.
Manava.
So thank you so much. I'm so thrilled. We are listening to Dr. Sridhar Melkote. Sir is a esteemed, my research guide. And I have sat through many of his lectures when I was studying. And I'm in absolute awe of Sir because, he has, he has on his ungliyon pe Ved Shastra, but he is so humble. He will not even say anything about himself. And I think that is the real mark of a great, great soul. So I don't have any questions. What can a student ask, as a question? I'm very enthralled that the entire group is listening to Dr. Sridhar Melkote. And I also request the philosophy family to conduct more such programs because Sir can speak about the Upanishads, Sir can speak about the Vedas. Sir can also speak about our great Hindu six systems of philosophy, Hindu philosophy, with quotations and with real knowledge about these things, about Shankara's philosophy, Advaita, and then Vishishtadvaita, Madhva philosophy, Ramanuja philosophy. Sir is very, very well versed in all these. And although it is very interesting to see how the Western world is looking at consciousness, I think our ancient rishis have already given us so many techniques of attaining samadhi already. like sir rightly mentioned just now, that it is an experience that we really understand these things, because in the great yogi Paramahansa Yogananda says, there is an ineluctable quiddity in Maya, in the sense, in science, what the only mistake that science does, or it's the drawback of science, is you are using the five sense organs to study the Panchabhutas. Whereas the science, so even if you study one concept after the other, one concept after the other, one concept of the other in science, you will never reach consciousness. Like sir mentioned in the Prashna Upanishad, consciousness is beyond the, Shabda, Artha, and all those Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. It's even beyond the Tanmatras, which are the astral form or the Sukshma Sharira. And it is even beyond the causal form, which is the the Karana Sharira. So consciousness comes beyond Karana. So how can a man merely, using, tunneling or, whatever theories or mathematics try to explain or experience consciousness? So ultimately, we have to go within and transcend the chitta and go into the consciousness, like the Yoga Sutra mentions. So, and sir has very well put it across, and it is a very beautiful synthesis of East and West. And I thank sir again, and I request Professor Das to again and again invite her for understanding philosophies, Upanishads, Vedas. I myself would love to learn about, the various parts, Samhita, Aranyaka, and all those things that can easily explain. It's a great, great Vidwan. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Dr. Sridhar also. Thank you so much
Thank you
for
very
this
much.
amazing session. Thank you, sir.
Thank,
Thank you.
thank you, thank you, thank you, madam. Both teacher and
Dr. Das,
student. Yes, sir.
Dr.
Yes,
Das,
sir.
one question came to my mind,
Yes,
and
sir.
I think Professor Sridhar will also subscribe to it. That when Naya is bringing a classification of Nirvikalpaka, Savikalpaka, and Jogoja Pratyaksha, Jogoja Pratyaksha,
Yoga
that there I think this subjective objective part is intermingled. That is why
Yes,
in Naya Vaisheshika philosophy, because Naya frames the basis and Vaisheshika is giving us the ontological things. So this Yogoja Pratyaksha that you are talking about, it includes both subjectivity and objectivity.
objectivity.
Yeah.
Yes, you are right.
So
Please go. Yeah.
would you subscribe to this view,
Yes,
sir?
very much, sir. Very much. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. This just came to my mind, so therefore I asked,
Good.
because we are trying to find out the objectivity of consciousness
Yeah,
within the framework of Vedanta and
exactly.
Indian systems. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else who
Sir,
likes? Yes, yes.
yes.
Yes, Rao, sir.
Namaskar, Professor Sridhar, sir. Well, it was a well-framed lecture, and you tried to see the parallels between Advaita Vedanta and modern science. And what I would like to love to listen from you is the parallels
Yes, sir.
from the standpoint of Vedanta and the thing that we can find in the Western science, modern science.
Yes,
So,
brother.
if you can show the parallels, that would be still more interesting. But to what Professor Ghosh was addressing to from the Nyaya standpoint, Nirvikalpa, Savikalpa, and the Yogaja Pratiksha, one thing that comes to my mind from the standpoint of modern science is Bohr's principle of unanalyzable whole.
Yeah.
Bohr's principle of unanalyzable whole, where he talks of the object, the subject, and the consciousness all being connected and being one.
Uh-huh.
In the observation of a microscopic particle, the subject can never be seen apart from the
Object.
object that is being observed, and the consciousness is the living thread, and you cannot make a distinction of anyone. It is a holistic system. You cannot, with the subject object everything, they become one and all.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can number two, one more thing, from from the Advaita standpoint, we see Shankara that the entire world from empirical level may Maya and from and connecting to
Your voice,
Sound is not clear, sir.
the
sir,
sound is
your
not
voice,
coming. Not,
no, not clear, not clear. So we could not hear you.
not clear.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, am
Now,
I audible?
right now,
Yes,
you're audible,
yes,
Professor.
yes. Hmm.
Yes.
Okay,
Huh.
okay. Did
Just
was I
speak
able to?
again the last part of your question.
No,
Last part.
the doctrine of unanalyzable whole, was that audible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, what Professor?
We're only
Huh,
talking about
huh.
subjectivity and objectivity and consciousness all merge in one.
All merged in one. Yes, connect. So
Yes, sir.
consciousness is the binding principle. So what we see is, so now, well, when we talk of Advaita Vedanta, and they say from the empirical standpoint the world is real, but when we take from the transcendental sense the world is ultimately unreal. So
Unreal.
they say it is all Brahman, that is only real. Now my point is uh, if we take the similar stand from the Western science, do you subscribe to the view that everything is charged with consciousness? Well, we say it even from the electron or or the subatomic particle to the mountains, we see as consciousness. But how to make it understandable that even matter is charged with consciousness? This is number two. Number three, and one more point that comes to my mind is if we take the mass energy conversion relation of Einstein is equal to mc square.
Yes.
Mass energy conversion relation is equal to mc square. When matter, well, we can equate with m is the mass. Okay, when we talk of the energy side, is it the energy that is taking the stance of consciousness, and is energy taking the side of consciousness? Is that energy what to say, it is something that is charged with consciousness? This is my something that I wish to learn from you, sir.
Exactly, sir. Exactly. We should de- explore deep into there. If I remember long ago, Pulivendala, Dr. Pulivendala, excuse me, who was a professor of physics in Temple University, America, was discussing about what you are discussing. When I was hearing about him, hearing his lecture in America 20 years ago, this was the question even faced by Albert Einstein, and he said it is possible to solve only through the philosophy of Shankara, and not with any other thing. Science cannot answer this. It's only through understanding of the total consciousness at all levels this could be understood. That's what he was telling. I remember, sir, Dr. Pulivendala, Ramakrishna Pulivendala. But still,
Okay.
it has to be explored and discussed, sir. It is a debatable thing, and lot of study is required, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you. So
Thank
now
you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
we shall conclude.
Yes, sir. I offer my grateful thanks to you.
Yes, sir. In your appreciation, sir, I shall say that neither you belong to physics nor to metaphysics. So the topic today you took relating to physics and metaphysics, but the person who is speaking, he does not belong to either to physics or metaphysics. You are talking about Advaita Vedanta, but you don't belong to the Department of Philosophy. You are talking about physics. At the same time, you also don't belong to the Department of Physics. You belong to the Department of Sanskrit, that is language, literature. So it is proved that a man of literature, and that is Sanskrit, the verses, the words, which are so much integrated with the reality, that can speak about that talent, that mind can speak about the synthesis of both physics and metaphysics. So this is a path towards Advaita. So very beautifully it is demonstrated uh, by the physicists and metaphysicians, that we are searching for the unity. That is the that is the that is called total reality by physicists. By physicist people, they are searching for the total reality, as you say. And in our culture, we are searching for the absolute consciousness. They are starting their journey from matter. We are starting our journey from consciousness. So their content is matter, because initially they don't believe in consciousness. So they start their journey from matter and they start dividing matter. After dividing, they try to reach at the unity that is called, in a very quantitative sense, quantum mechanism or quantum consciousness. They are using that language because they have started their journey from matter. Similarly, in our culture, we are dividing consciousness into different layers of consciousness, as you say, that different states of consciousness, Jagrata, Swapna, Susupti, Turiyo. These are the different steps of consciousness. So, in dividing both consciousness and matter, we are planning to reach that unity in both physics and metaphysics. But who is a physicist and who is a metaphysician? Both are human beings. It is a human possibility. It is a human possibility to search for the unity, because it is not the cup of tea of animals and plants. So he is a man, whether he is a scientist or a philosopher, he has an inner urge to search the unity, because he is that unity. He is that completeness.
Exactly.
He is that Brahman. But he is doing the play of a scientist by his job or by his profession or by his ideology. He is a scientist. And the another person is a metaphysician. But both are human beings. Because this is a human possibility of searching for that unity. This amounts to prove that Aham Brahmasmi, that human being, the so-called human being, is not other than Brahman. Therefore, the searching is possible, and we also reach at the climax. In physics, we reach at the quantum consciousness, and in Advaita Vedanta, we reach at that ultimate experience, that is called experience. And in science, it is called experiment. So, by experiment or by experience, our goal is to reach at the unity. But what is the problem? What is the problem? The problem is that total reality in the terminology of science, and that absolute consciousness in the terminology of Indian culture, that has been veiled by, that has been covered by so many things. In Indian culture, that absolute consciousness, what we are really, we fail to understand our own identity as Brahman, as that total consciousness, only because of these veils. Which are such veils? Maya itself is a veil, cosmic illusion. Ignorance itself is a veil, individual avidya, ignorance. And Panchakosas, Annamaya Kosa, Pranamaya Kosa, Manamaya Kosa, Vijnanamaya Kosa, Anandamaya Kosa, these kosas are veils. Ignorantly we claim any one of these kosas, or any one of the three gunas, Sattva, Raja and Tama, or any one of the states like Jagrata, Swapna, Susupti and Susupti, out of these three states, we claim that this is the reality, this is my identity, this is my upadhi, this is what I am, this is our ignorance. So we are bound to live with our ignorance and live by the cosmic illusion that is Maya. This is our precondition of our existence. Physics starts with that precondition but philosophers, metaphysicians try to transcend that state of Jagat. So the Jagat, what we claim for physicists, that is the platform from their experiment, but
Yeah.
that Jagat is another platform for the metaphysicians to transcend Jagat. That Jagat is Mithya. So, in the search of unity, the scientists reach at the point of relativity, and in the search of unity, metaphysicians reached at the point of absolute unity. So,
Yeah.
the relativity and the absolute unity,
Unity.
they are the two sides of the same coin.
Like Maya and Brahma.
Yes, Sunya and Purna. Sunya,
Brahma.
nothing is real. Purna, everything is real.
Yeah.
That Purna and Sunya, voidness, they are one and the same thing. One and the same thing, and this can be experienced by human beings, human mind. So mind is not just a brain, as Westerners claim.
Yes.
Mind is such a capacity that can transform itself to grasp the higher level of reality, higher layers of reality, and at the highest level, it merged with that. So Jnana, Gyan, and Gyanta, they become one at one point. At one point.
That's right.
And that is called mysticism in science,
Mysticism
because
is-
they don't know the distinction between Jnana, Gyanta, and Gyan. At one point, they become mystical. They stop asking question that our methodology, our ability, they have one limit. We cannot go beyond that. So let us leave it to the state of mysticism. So what is mysticism according to physicists? That is one type of a reality according to spiritual sadhakas. That this is not mystical, this is my personal experience. This is what I experience. So it is mystical to you because you fail to experience it through your scientific approach, through your
Exactly.
laboratory methodology. Therefore it is mystical for you. But that mystic state is my experiential state. I
Yeah.
experience that mysticism. I live by that. So that is the state of Ananda. That is the state of Paramananda, Sadananda. Because I can understand the mystical world and I can live the mystic with the mystical sense. So I am divided and also I am united. I am a scientist and also I am a metaphysician.
Yes.
If I shall ignore any one of them, then I am not a Advaita Vedantin. Then I am not a total personality. Then I am not a Purna Bhaktitva.
Exactly.
Very nicely presented by Professor Sridharji. You are an asset. You are a very good resource person for the whole country, for the entire community of lovers of philosophy. So we shall invite you again and again.
Sure.
So you are so humble that the way you requested me to give your talk in WhatsApp group, in my personal WhatsApp. So really, sir, I mean, your behavior, your gesture, your mentality, your mindset, speak what you are.
Thank you
So
very much.
we shall arrange your talks in a very systematic manner,
Surely,
like
sir.
like a course work, like something we shall start. Suppose we can take many strands from Upanishads,
In lectures.
and always we shall relate it to the modern physics,
Yeah.
because that is the demand of the present generation.
Sure, sir.
Okay, sir. That's we shall go with the synthesis of both physics and metaphysics. Yes, sir.
Dr.
Ranjit, sir.
Das,
Ranjit, sir. Please,
to
please.
be very precise, we should request Professor Sridhar to give a talk on the fifth dimension of consciousness. That is
Oh,
the
okay, okay. Yes,
from
sir.
a scientific point of view.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
from a
Yes, sir.
scientist point of view,
Yeah.
because you are so well versed in the literature of the Indian philosophies, so you can very well give us a very good talk on the fifth dimension of consciousness. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you, sir.
Oh.
Definitely. Dhanyavad, sir.
Okay, okay. Thank you all. So now I shall request Professor Kailash Chandra Mahana sir to propose vote of thanks.
Okay. Thanks so much, Dr. Das. So for some times I was left. And today, on behalf of Philosophy Family, I would like to extend gratitude to Professor M.K. Sridhar sir, the way he analyzed the Advaita philosophy of Shankar in post-globalization era. And today, he has given us a very beautiful concept, technology of consciousness. And I must be thankful to Madam Bonamara Deepak for introducing Professor Sridhar with us. And today, we extend our gratitude to Professor Sridhar, the way
Thank you.
he analyzed the way he analyzed that how the whole world is full of consciousness and consciousness is a part of the physical universe. Professor Sridhar has given the mathematical model of consciousness, psychological model of consciousness, physicist model of consciousness, and metaphysical model of consciousness by following the Big Bang theory, Capra physics, Viveka Chudamani, and the views of many great philosophers, great physicists of our world. And he has given that how all consciousness is really one, where one finds a source of compassion and ethical theory. So, on behalf of Philosophy Family, I extend our gratitude to Professor Sridhar for giving a very technology of consciousness for the first time, and that is in our family. And we are really grateful to you, sir. And I extend my gratitude to Professor Ranjit Ghosh, sir, for his way of discussion, and we are really benefited by him also. And I extend my gratitude to Professor Pramod Kumar Das, Professor Dr. K. Amandaran Rao, and others for interacting with our eminent speaker of today. And with this, I also extend my gratitude to all the learned participants who have raised questions, queries, and I extend my gratitude to all the person, all the viewers, those are present in this webinar. So, last but not the least, I again propose my vote of thanks to Madam Banamara Deepak for introducing sir. And really, it is a very good and very excellent presentation of Professor Sridhar. So we expect more presentation, more talks from him. So thanks so much, sir. Thanks to Professor Pramod Kumar Das. Thanks to Professor Dr. K. Amandaran Rao and all the viewers of this webinar. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, sir.
I would like to request Professor Pramod Kumar Das to wind up the session.
The session is
Sir, we
declared closed.
wish to
Thank
have
you.
a lecture on the Vedas, sir, from your side. We wish to listen to you on the Vedas, sir.
Sure, sir. Sometime, definitely.
Sometime you give time, sir, to speak in the Vedas, sir.
Definitely, sir.
It would
We
be
can
very
have.
beneficial to all of us.
Now,
Sure.
now we
Okay,
shall
sir. Thank
have
you. Namaskaram, sir. Namaskaram.
now we shall have series of talks,
Yeah.
and we shall listen to Professor Sridharji.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Namaskar. Dhanyawad, sir.
Thank you. Grateful to all of you. The session is declared closed.